Good afternoon, Miamians. I'm Molly Young from the Miami University Alumni Association. And today, as part of our webinar series and in partnership with the Richard and Carole Cox Art Museum, we present Ohio Secret Gardens and Hidden Food Histories. Joining us today is a great group. We have arts and social justice photographer Tina Gutierrez, visual artist, storyteller, easy for me to say, and founder of Midtones Photo Magazine, we have Asa Featherstone, and environmental sociologist and educator, Dr. Alan Wight. Also joining us for the conversation is Jack Green. And Jack, I'm going to let you take it away after I remind our viewers that you can ask questions in real time and engage with the conversation by clicking the Ask a Question button under your video. So welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Jack, if you want to take it away.
Thank you. Okay, great. Hi, hello everyone. Thank you so much, Molly. It's good to see everyone. My name is Jack Green. I'm the Jeffrey Harrell and Rodney Rose Director and Chief Curator here at the Richard and Carole Cox Art Museum. And it's a really great pleasure to present and introduce to you some key members in our team for the Culture Crops project. That is Ohio Secret Gardens and Hidden Food Histories. I want to say that this project is made possible by our art museum at Miami University. We're also known as RCCAM. So I'll refer to that through the presentation where needed. And we are engaging with these three individuals, Tina Gutierrez, Asa Featherstone, and Alan Wight. Tina has really been involved over the last year and a half, nearly 2 years now, conducting site visits for creating a series of photographic portraits that serve as a celebration of Ohio's history and its food growing communities. Culture Crops is including stories of Indigenous, immigrant, and local community and family farmers and the history of food they produce. So I'll introduce our three speakers and give a little bit of information about them. So first of all, we have Tina Gutierrez, who's a fine arts photographer who is creating photographs for the Culture Crops project, and she's leading the artistic vision for the project. She is taught at the Art Academy of Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati, and Xavier University, and her work's been exhibited at Photo Focus, Cincinnati WYCA, Washington Park Art Gallery, Xavier University, and Northern Kentucky University. She's a student of developmental movement and conducts freelance photographic work for the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, Moves and Makers magazines, among others. And Asa Featherstone is the videographer for the Culture Crops project. He's an award-winning artist based in Cincinnati. He makes photographs and films about the shared experiences that make us human. His work prioritizes the beauty and nuance of daily Black life through story, place, rest, joy, and strife, giving voice to communities of color. Featherstone has a BA in Communication and Electronic Media from the University of Cincinnati, and his recent photo book, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, was made with the Cincinnati Art Museum. And he's been a visiting artist, instructor, and curator at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Denver and RISD Museum, as well as Antioch College. And he'll be starting next month as the digital content strategist at Great Parks in Hamilton County. So congratulations, Asa. Our Alan Wight, PhD, is leading the food history component of the Culture Crops project. Wight is an environmental sociologist and educator and an associate professor at the Christ College of Nursing and Health Sciences and the School and Community Forest Garden Liaison for the University of Cincinnati. And he also teaches at Cincinnati State Technical and Community College. And as an advocate scholar, Alan's chronicled the regional food movement for over a decade, publishing books as well as neighborhood food maps. And his book project, Cincinnati Food Shed, an Art Atlas, past, present, and future, tells the story of regional innovations that have changed the global food shed. I also want to acknowledge some of our museum team here, including Jason Shaman. I'm co-curating this exhibition with Jason Shaman, our curator of exhibitions, and also Sherry Crazel, who helps us with the communications and marketing for the project as well. So yeah, with this project, just to say a little bit about it, we've been working with this team and the RCCAM staff to finalize content for this exhibition, the videos and the related programming, which will take place between January 27th and June 13th, 2026 at RCCAM. So the exhibition, it will consist of over 30 photographs by Tina Gutierrez and several short films for multimedia display by Asa Featherstone. And this will be alongside personal stories that are drawn from interviews with the individuals shown, as well as their related food histories, which will be prepared by Alan Wight. So we're fortunate to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of this today. So the project is in line with the Ohio 250 theme of telling Ohio stories, highlighting stories of Ohioans past and present. So we're very grateful to have received an America 250 Ohio Buckeye Grant from the Ohio 250 Commission through Ohio Humanities. This has made a lot of this project possible, in addition to support from donors to the Art Museum. This is an exhibition that we're also planning to travel in the future. So if you are interested in this, please come and see the exhibition in the spring and also get in touch with us here at RCCAM. So through this Culture Crops project, we're trying to raise awareness of the depth and breadth of Ohio residents and the land they cultivate across Southwest Ohio and beyond. The resulting series of photographic portraits and video interviews tell the stories of these present-day Ohioans, their experiences of food growing, and the history of food growing and farming traditions. And we also have many partners, collaborators, and supporters. And this slide, it's not exhaustive, but it just gives us a list of some of the key supporters, including the Oxford Community Arts Center, Miami University Arts Center, the Institute for Environment and Sustainability with the Miami University Farm, and many others. Planning is also underway for the creation of some lesson plans that will be used in a range of educational settings, with thanks to Professor Stephanie Danker, Professor of Art Education here at Miami University, and many other partners here, including we're very happy to be connected with the focus theme of health and well-being this year at Miami University. And we're also coordinating that with the Department of Kinesiology, Nutrition and Health, which is overseeing this particular theme this year. And we also want to encourage community members to think about where their food comes from, how they grow their food, from the smallest window box to a backyard or community garden. We plan to do this through encouraging learning about food history, including where food comes from, what came to our region and when, and how that food history is rooted in our communities. We're very grateful to the Greater Oxford Community Foundation for funds that will help us provide community programming in the spring. And in partnership with the Oxford Community Arts Center and the Miami University Arts Center, we have a call for photos. We are seeking photographs of food that you may have locally sourced, as well as stories about the food and what it means to you. So if you're interested in finding out more, please sign up through the QR code on the screen here, and please submit your photographs before December 1st of this year. We'll have some related programs in the spring, including panel discussion with our three speakers here today, as well as a community photo project, a gardening project with the Oxford Community Arts Center, and other celebrations of locally grown and sourced foods for all ages. So we'll be sharing more information about that soon. But without further ado, let's talk to our main speakers now. I want to hand it over now to Tina Gutierrez. I'm going to first of all show what is really kind of a key image in this exhibition of Jordan Flo and her son Obadiah. And I want you to tell us a little bit about this photograph as well as the next photograph, which I'll share in a moment, and tell us a little bit about how the concept and theme of culture crops came about.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you, Molly and Jack and everybody on the team. It's been an honor and privilege to be a part of this amazing project. I've learned so much. So Jack contacted me a couple of years ago, just approximately right around 2 years ago, and proposed that we come up with a concept featuring Ohio and Ohioans as part of the Ohio 250 grant. And so I really was thinking about how do we show the beauty of our state and the beauty of the people that live here, and what kind of connects us all as humans who all live here together. And we just started thinking and tossing around ideas, and food definitely was one of them, but how to photograph food in a way that would really show just the land. And so then it became really clear that it would need to be, for me anyway, that it would need to be a garden, and most specifically, but not exclusively, a community garden. And I love this idea of the community garden because it combats food shortages and insecurities and food deserts, but it also brings people together to share their stories, their experiences, their learning about the food and how to grow it. It just seemed like the perfect way to capture what we really wanted to show about Ohio and Ohioans. So I think Jack agreed that would work, and then I just set off finding these community gardens. We connected with Asa and Alan, and Alan has been this wonderful resource in finding specifically, at least at first, all these different people that we could, through his contacts, he knows everybody and everything about food, and that was very, very helpful. And then through those connections, other connections came. It turns out there are especially in urban areas, community gardens are everywhere, and like hidden little nooks and crannies, small, big. It's just been such an amazing experience to meet all the people. This specific photo with Jordan holding her son Obadiah was really so special. And I'd like to quote the curator of the Museum of Modern Art in Cleveland, who said that she really loved this particular one because it didn't just show us interacting with nature, but it showed us as part of nature. And so I really loved that quote. And I do think of us as part of nature and as stewards of it. And so this particular one, Jordan is an amazing human. She is so concerned about feeding her son everything organic. She grows her own food. She makes her own sauces. She's part Italian. She loves making Italian sauces. She makes tinctures and medicinal things. And Obadiah is very much a part of her gardening experience. She brings him every time. He communicates with the other gardeners there. They share things with him. It was just so special to get to watch her work and to see her love for her son and her care that she gives to him. And the opportunity that this little garden that's tucked on Melrose Avenue in Walnut Hills, you can't even see it from the street. And yet you go beyond the street line and it's filled with different little pieces of land that people farm and garden. So that's that photo.
That's great. Let me move on to the next one that we have here.
This is Vicky Mansour, who her and her husband, Peter Hunninger, own a home meadow song farm in it's in Winton Place, kind of in Winton, Spring Grove Village. And she grows all kinds of heritage plants and grains. This is red amaranth, which is an ancient grain. People made bread from it. And as soon as I got to her farm, I knew this had to be what we were going to photograph, because it's so unusual. And it is one of those little uncovered secrets that I really wasn't, actually seen this plant before, but I didn't really know what it was, or that it was even a food. And she explained it to me, that it was this ancient grain, and it just seemed the perfect thing. And to me, the sort of wildness of its sort of top leaves and flowers, and sort of echoed the idea of her hair Vicky's always been known for having this fabulous hair, and she's this wise woman who teaches children about gardening, and helps the community and gives food away. And so that's kind of how that one came about.
So yeah, let's take a look at a couple of the other other photographs we have. I'm going to move on to the next one here. You could tell us a little bit about these people and their stories.
Dominic. So Dominic started Brick Gardens, which is probably later Alan might be able to speak more clearly to that. But it's a community-based organization that combats food shortages and in food deserts in urban areas. This particular photograph, I went inside his place where he grows mushrooms, and there's other people that he grows mushrooms alongside with. But Dominic's story is a little bigger than he's growing mushrooms and teaching people about mushrooms. His dream is about ending shortages of food for people everywhere, and he does not want to rest until that is a reality. And so he grows them. I don't know, Alan, is the term hydrophonically, is that correct for this situation?
I mean, mushrooms are grown typically using a medium or a substrate in a very controlled environment. He does do hydroponics in other examples. Basically, wherever, the term Brick Gardens is his use of these buildings and spaces and places that are not currently being used for something else. And so rather than perhaps a community garden plot, he is doing a lot of indoor growing in these grow operations that he is in partnership with the people who typically own the building. Okay.
Well, so I go into this indoor space, and it looked a little bit like a sci-fi space inside a spaceship, really. I'd never seen anything like it. And this was this sort of aluminum foil, very controlled space. And these misters were on timers, and it was very difficult to photograph, because we're in a really small contained space right now, getting the lights in there. The mushrooms were beautiful. And he started to step towards the doorway where I had the light situated, and the mister came on, and he closed his eyes. And this seemed like the perfect photograph, because it's dreamlike. And I think it reflected his dream of ending hunger. And there was another one with his eyes open, and we couldn't decide which one, because it was really beautiful and connecting. But this, to me, captured the spirit of what he is trying to do, the dreamlike quality that his vision really is. So many of these photographs, I just had such a joy to experience the people and their vision and how they connected to the community, and how possible it is for anyone to garden and to create their own gardens. And it really inspired. I grew up on a farm, and we always had a larger garden, and we sharecropped. And I'm also really interested in the different kinds of food that people bring from their cultural backgrounds and their heritage. My heritage is half Cuban, half Appalachian. And so we always had different kinds of food in our gardens, from green beans to black beans. And we would make food. We stayed pretty, my mom was Appalachian, and so those recipes were pretty Appalachian, and my dad was Cuban, so those recipes were pretty Cuban. But just the joy of experiencing food from all over the world just became a part of my growing up. And I am so excited for people through this project to learn about each other and the different kinds of food that we can all make and share together and learn about each other. And I just hope that everyone enjoys doing that, and through this project, as much as I've been able to enjoy doing it.
That's great, Tina. And I'm just going to move on to the next photograph here, which is the Lichens family.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Likens family is a family that occupies and owns a farm near Oxford in Butler County, and it is called a century farm. So a century farm is a farm that's been in the family for nearly a century, if not more, and been through multiple generations. And this particular family I enjoyed working with them so much. They loved their animals. And often I'll go into a farm with animals, and the animals aren't quite as tame, or they aren't as comfortable being around people, but each of these animals was very comfortable being handled, and the care that they gave them to me was so lovely. And also the bigger picture is, they do raise cattle, and they raise many of the animals they raise for meat, and how they, there's this relationship they have with them, and then the sadness of when this animal will go off to slaughter. And it's I think I love that the way these animals are treated with respect and kindness and love. And it just shows that this kind of eating meat can be a situation where it's not just the stereotype of what we see in the slaughterhouse, that these animals have a good life. And I think, Alan, you also said it, they have every day is good for them except the last one. And how grateful we are that they have given their lives so that we can eat. But I love this picture of Emily facing the farm, and she's wearing this beautiful dress, and she was so excited. She wanted to be photographed in this dress, and that she wanted to get, wear out to a dance, and yet she's facing her family farm, which is this beautiful, just picturesque traditional farm. I love that one.
And Tina, the sort of link to it as well with the food, because obviously all these animals need food, and a lot of that feed is grown, and things like corn and other kinds of crops and silage and so forth. So there's a sort of full cycle there with the vegetation as well that's created for the feed.
Absolutely. And there's off to the right on the picture, there's the historic silos where the grains are stored. The time I went, there wasn't any growing in the field, so I couldn't photograph them. But it's really a beautiful thing to see. Next time you drive by a cornfield or a hayfield, and really think about how those grains are being used, not only to feed us, but to feed the animals that feed us. It's a really important part, I think, of the bigger story.
And there's this photograph as well, right? This is
yes. I grew up with chickens, so I have this fondness for chickens. And so Jacob agreed to be photographed with the chicken. And this is his family tractor that came down generations. He's sitting on this tractor in the barn. And just, the chicken was pretty tame and just very much cooperated. And I love that these kids from a very early age are hands-on. They know all about their animals. They care for them at every step of the way. They're involved in projects through their school and through their organizations that really, where they learn and share and just take care of these animals.
That's great. I've got one more here from Ticoon Farm in Mount Healthy.
Ticoon Farms is a community, also a teaching farm in Mount Healthy, just north of Cincinnati. And Hem is from Bhutan, and he has, which this story is very interesting. He has many members of his family, and each of them have a plot in this garden, and they grow many kinds of traditional food. Here he's growing a traditional pepper from his homeland, and they use it in sauces and just spice their food. And they grow food. You can see the marigolds almost more prominently than the peppers, but they grow with the marigold. They grow everything together. The marigolds help with pests, to keep the pests away. And then they also use these marigolds in ceremonies. They make necklaces out of them that are used for weddings and different ceremonial uses as well as pest control in the garden. They have not lima beans, I'm sorry, they have different kinds of beans that grow all together. If you have a chance to visit this farm, you can do that. You can go to Tikkun Farms and see the way they grow their food. It's a little different than what you normally would see in a traditional, probably Western way of growing things in rows, and individual. But sometimes it's called Three Sisters. Sometimes it's called Companion Garden. There's many different permaculture. Alan's probably going to correct me on this. There's many different ways of growing food together. That's very efficient. And apparently, this particular farm grows 2 to 3 times the production of the food of output the way the more traditional way of growing produces. So that was really interesting to me.
That's great. Now this is just a photograph to show some of the working shots of both you and also Asa, because often you were working together at the same time. And so I wondered, Tina, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about the process of how you go about creating these portraits, and sort of how does that how do you get the person ready to be photographed, and how does that experience sort of unfold?
Yeah, well, I usually do an interview on the phone for a little while first, so we can talk about how the experience is going to go and what to wear and general things like that. And what I really want to know, what they love most, what drives them to garden, what makes them, what's their motivation, what brings them to the garden. And then when I get there, I usually go through a series of exercises just to relax a little bit. And many people feel they're not photogenic, and I completely disagree. It's just getting the camera to see the beauty in that person that I see. And if I can see their beauty, which I always can because people are beautiful, then it's going to come across in the camera. It's just how are we going to do that? How are we going to make the camera see in that way? And then I have the opportunity to work with Asa, who, if you're not familiar with Asa's work, he is multi-talented. He can do it all. He's a photographer's photographer. And we worked so beautifully together. It was such a privilege. He helped me. I helped him on those shoots that we got to do together. I learned from him. It was wonderful to work together and help each other out. And I'm really excited. Actually, now I should probably turn this over to Asa, and let's hear from him and about his experience.
Yeah, let's do that. Yes, so Asa, this is really great. You got a little bit of a sneak peek there of some of the places, but tell us a little bit about the places you visited and the kinds of questions you also asked the interviewees.
Yeah. So first, I'll just say thanks again for having me be part of the project, and I'm really excited to just share my perspective and share these stories in a little bit of a deeper way, just to sort of build on what Tina spoke about. I think that Tina and Jack had already sort of been working on the project, or at least ideating about the project when they reached out to me, and it just kind of, for me, just sort of made sense to work together. One is a person who just respects Tina's work as well. Y'all saw it previously, but the opportunity to really just dive deep into tell these stories about land stewardship and how so many different folks are connected, specifically in Ohio. I think the breadth and the versatility of the amount of stories we're able to share and tell really speaks to just how important and how strong this work is and will be when you all see it together. But in terms of the the filmmaking process, it was really nice to be able to work alongside Tina and just sort of, again, watch her process, learn, and also work together and collaborate. Because there are I feel like, as the way I've been thinking about the project is, I think that with Tina and Alan's point of view and their focus, was a lot of it was about sort of the who, like who are these people, like where are they, and sort of the what specifically focus on like what are their crops, what are the histories behind that. And I feel like my contribution here was to emphasize the why a little bit. And so in addition to, having these portraits, my focus was to again, we're highlighting the crops and the food and the land, but I wanted to sort of get to know the people on a personal standpoint. And so a lot of what the way that I sort of go about the interviews and the questions is I'd sort of do like a reverse pyramid approach where I start small and just sort of get larger and larger with ideas. So, I always really want to learn more about, folks' personal connection to farming or personal connection to growing in general. And so usually, you can follow that trail down really, really deep and amazing conversations because everyone that we had spoken to or interviewed, either their family was involved or, they were introduced to it through just like natural curiosity about food or there was something health related or policy related. And so, once we sort of were able to, have conversations around the personal connection, then people start to get comfortable. They start to share even more stories. And then we sort of talk about how, land stewardship is something that we should all participate in and how it sort of can contribute to, improving the lives of everyone, around the country and around the state. And so, really just had a wonderful time. Just, there were times where Tina and I would go together to sites and spend time with folks. But then there were times where I would go on my own and have our own time where we just spend time with one another. And the style that I was sort of approaching with a lot of this was in like filmmaking, they call it verite, which is very natural. And so not as much controlled, the conversations were fluid. I would come with a, certain list of questions, but really just would let the conversation just lead and have the visuals sort of be inspired by a lot of that. And so when you see the films when they come out and when you see them in the exhibit, you'll see that they're very they're just sort of natural day to day. You just sort of will be sort of going with these folks along in their journey as they're gardening, as they're, tapping tree sap or things of that nature. And hang on to this slide for a little bit, Jack, so I can, and I'll describe. So, this particular slide. So there are quite a few portraits that Tina had made, but I know we wanted to really focus on like 5 feature stories that we felt like would be really like a nice deep dive into the history and the background of the people and the folks that are farming, but also we wanted to make sure that we covered sort of a wide enough variety of different perspectives. Whether it be from like a student or international perspective, folks that are doing local farming, local growing, and also folks who are interested in like policy. And so we sort of wanted to have a different variety. And so we focused on these sort of 5 stories that we will be including in the exhibition in the full project, where we spent time with the students at the Miami University Farm. And at the Miami Center, our focus was specifically on indigenous culture and how that has sort of been shaped in Ohio, and how different crops and how tree sap and the sugaring has been really a way for the Miami tribe to stay rooted in their history and their community, but also opportunity to teach the students and the next generation about preserving that culture and that history through that process. And then we spent a lot of time at Aiken New Tech High School in Cincinnati, where they have an international student program where folks from all over the world will come into this school. And a lot of them are ESL or English as second language students, and a lot of them participate and they grow food in this garden, and they care for the animals and everything at this garden, and that's sort of their way to sort of build community. And so we spent time focusing with them. And then you saw Jordan Flo earlier in one of the original the first images from Tina, and so we spent a little bit more time with her and Obadiah in the local Melrose Garden, and spent some time just to learn more about how this land stewardship looks like on a smaller level, but is also incredibly impactful. And then we spoke with I spent time with Bill Miller, who is a champion in the farmers community, not only in Ohio, but just nationwide. Honestly, he's a really important figure in advocating for the rights of farming in all different levels, from local to industrial. And so we wanted to make sure that we had all those different ranges of perspectives to really share. And I think we have we'll show a trailer real second, but before we jump into it, I just want to add that the thing that I've been taking away from this entire project, but just like in the process of putting these 5 films together, is that everyone has a role to play in land stewardship, whether it's knowledge about different crops and understanding the history, but also the community that I think it brings. One of the things that I was really amazed at when I was just spending time with everyone, documenting and capturing video and interviewing, is that there was nobody that was upset at all. Everyone that was working on the gardens and the land, they just felt a sense of peace and joy. And I think that there's something to that, when we're out here working and contributing with folks and with community and with people, to just care for our environment. I think that there's a lot to say about that. And I think that that's just, we all have a role to play in it. And it's just really was awesome to be able to see and just have a close-up view of that. But yeah, I think it's just been a great process, and looking forward to showing all the films. But we do have a short trailer that we'll show that just kind of gives you a highlight into the different types of stories that we're telling. And feel free, Jack, whenever you are ready to share that.
Nowadays, you see all of your food on the grocery store shelves could have come from thousands of miles away. Growing your own food is such a way to kind of reframe that thinking and appreciate everything the planet gives us.
My grandpa grew his own garden until, he passed away. So I feel like on our farm, I'm hoping that it lasts a long time.
I've never had something like this. It's kind of peaceful.
It's crucial to a democracy to support a diverse, locally controlled agricultural system. And it's changing fast.
Just thinking back to times when I have consumed food that I have purchased from our local farmers market, I find myself pausing and looking at the food more. I know that that food will taste a little bit sweeter.
I think what I find in our community is that they're longing for things that force them to slow down and force them to connect to place, like where they are right now or where their ancestors lived in the past. I find a lot of our young people really like that experience of slowing down, connecting with place, and that the final product then is it means something different. It's more special.
What this garden and farm is really developed out of is when we can have people from all over the world and have all different kinds of backgrounds, whether they live in the city or they lived 16 years of their life in a refugee camp, we can find commonality. And I think that creates just respect and a sense of humanity.
Yeah, so essentially that's it's just like a preview of sort of the stories that we're going to be sharing. Each individual farm that we've identified here will have their own, longer piece where they'll talk a little bit more about what they're doing at each farm or garden and how it's impacting the community and things of that nature. And again, it's been just a wonderful time just working with everybody on it. I'm really excited to share the full pieces with everybody and pass it on to but I'll take my time to pass it on to Alan. Again, like my focus was on people in the place, but Alan has really like been essential to this because he's sort of grounding a lot of it. Every time that we would meet, have a conversation, I'm taking some notes, I'm learning something because he's he can really follow a lot of the food trails and really help just round this piece out. So I'll stop talking. I'll let y'all learn a little bit more from him. So Alan, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Asa. Welcome everybody again, and thank you to our hosts and also everyone who is here on the call. It has been a joy and pleasure to work with Jack and the team at RCCAM and also with Asa and Tina. I'm not an artist by training, but I continue to hang out with them all the time. And I think art is one of the beautiful ways that we can share our more human experiences with each other. So this is kind of a dream come true to work with such an amazing team here. I am not a historian by training, but years ago I became interested in growing my own food, and that I had to put down the books and actually had to go and do it. And so I spent 3 years as a market gardener at Gorman Heritage Farm, and I helped them launch their CSA. And that was kind of my introduction to the other local farmers and gardeners and permaculturalists, several folks who are featured here on this project. And that work eventually led me to a recent publication called Cincinnati's Food Shed and Art Atlas, which is a coffee table book. What you have before you is a typical spread where the book is open with the gutter down the middle. But our region here is incredibly rich, and some of the inventions and things and crops that have come out of here, breeds of animals, have basically gone on to shape the regional, national, and even the global food system. And I just wanted to start with this one of the Shakers at Union Village. This is up in Lebanon, right near where the Golden Lamb is today. And simply put, the Shakers were at the forefront of kind of agricultural innovations and technologies back in the day. They were doing things that nobody else was doing around here at the time, and everybody was copying what they were doing. They were packaging seeds, they were making brooms, they were distilling oils, essentially, and making oils. And they also have a hand in what is called the Poland China pig breed. It's fascinating. There's 2 competing claims. So yes, here we go, seeing one of the pigs at the Cordry farm. But for those of you who are from the region, you might know about one of the nicknames for Cincinnati, which is Porkopolis. And this is because, along with the Shakers in Union Township, and also the Austin McGee Farm, which is located up just northwest of Miami, University in Oxford, competing claims for who created what we call the first great American pig breed. Literally, there were genetics brought from pigs in Poland. There were genetics brought from pigs in China, as well as some other genetics that were here that had already been brought over. And you kind of see on the map, if you can look, there's those 2 little circles right there. That is pointing out the Shakers of Warren County, and that is pointing out the Austin McGee Farm. And the creation of a pig breed, this is not done overnight. This takes 40 to 50 years before farmers stop adding genetics to the breed itself. And so a couple things that made this breed so amazing: it could walk really, really, really far. We have evidence that some of the pig breeders would actually drive their pigs from as far north as Toledo all the way down to Cincinnati. Cincinnati was the preferred market. So these pigs could walk really, really far. They had a great temperament. And so they, just like us, they are social animals. So if you can control the top of the herd, you can kind of control the rest of it. They also had a really great mix of fat to lard ratio, which is very important because back in the day, we would use all of the animal from snout to tail is often how they talked about it. But there's another important innovation that really led to Cincinnati being the center of pork production in this part of the world. We were the first place anywhere that put everything you needed under a single roof to take apart an animal as fast as possible. And so we created what is known as the disassembly line. This was a process of about 1820 to 1840 for it to happen. But eventually this system that we developed is the precursor to the modern assembly line, which is largely responsible for almost how everything is put together these days. And so one of the stories is that as you know, Cincinnati and Chicago and St. Louis and some of these other cities were vying for who was going to be the Midwest metropolis, Chicago copied our idea of the disassembly line. And then Henry Ford actually visited some of the disassembly lines in Chicago to understand how he should create the assembly line for the Model T. And so coupled with the creation of the pig breed and then coupled with the creation of the disassembly line, hence the name Porkopolis, and then also hence all of the things that also came out of that. So when you have a massive amount of pork production, not only are you generating the meat, but you're also generating huge amounts of lard. And so this is a picture of Ivorydale, which was Procter & Gamble sold this off just a couple years ago, actually. But this is where kind of this is the beginnings of the largest consumer products corporation in the world, which you may know is actually home here in Cincinnati. This is P&G's global headquarters. And it started because they were using the remnants of the pig slaughter to make soap and candles. And of course, P&G is known for other products such as Ivory Soap or Crisco. And they did eventually get away from animal fats and oils as their base product and moved into other things such as cellulose. But they got their start because of the pig industry and the disassembly line. So, yeah. Another thing, actually, could you skip to the next slide and then we'll come back?
Sure.
So another innovation that is unique to our area and Oxford specifically is the modern B-frame. This is an image. The image on the right-hand side of the screen is an artist's rendering showing the collection of the pollen and eventually the creation of the honey within the hive. And I just want to say that Lorenzo Langstroth, if you are a Miami alumni, there is Lorenzo Langstroth's cottage exists on the campus. He came from Massachusetts where he had created the removable B-frame, but he came to what was the frontier at the time to basically perfect it and then eventually to sell it. And I just want to point out, Jack, if you go to the next slide, this innovation is still used today. We put massive amounts of these removable B-frames with bees in them with the colony intact, and we truck them all over the United States to pollinate like a third of our crops. You know, any of your flowering crops, it is an incredible addition to our food system and also humanity's ability to control aspects of agriculture. Prior to this invention, if you wanted honey, you would destroy the colony itself. And the huge innovation here, this allowed us to extract the honey and keep the hive intact. And so I cannot, you know, put a point on how instrumental this was. And this is over 150 years ago that this was happening. And the fact that it is still used today speaks to the innovation of it. Langstroth discovered what's called the 3/8 inch bee space that allowed the bees to move around the removable combs that they would eventually build within the supers, which are the wooden structure for the hive. And so Tina, through some connections, this is Brandon Reynolds, also known as Be the Keeper. He is currently employed at the Civic Garden Center of Greater Cincinnati. And so throughout this process, Tina really wanted to find someone who could represent bees and the monumental contribution and importance that they play in our food system today.
It's great. It's a great picture.
Thank you.
We got the
Another crop that was featured here is the pumpkin. You see here Skylar with a jack-o'-lantern. Gourds or pumpkins are part of the curcubate family, and it's a fascinating history. Some of them, such as the pumpkin, come from the Americas, but other ones, such as the bottleneck gourds, actually come from Africa. And so you have kind of a cross-continental diaspora of foods. And I will say that that is one of the fascinating things about the project, where we have this incredible interplay, this incredible mix, if you will, of culture and crop coming together. It is almost a quintessential American story, even though cultures and crops do mix and obviously have spread throughout the globe to all the continents where humans live. This next slide is showing you some artistic and biological sketches of the pumpkin, and also some of the related gourds to the pumpkin. Of course, it is this is the perfect season for it, because pumpkins represent the harvest. And here we are coming up on Thanksgiving, which is obviously a quintessential American holiday. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you so much. And then the final image here is related to the maple syrup.
Yes.
Happening as well.
Yeah, the Miami tribe. This is showing the harvest of maple sugar water. And I just, for our viewers here, almost any tree, specifically within the maple species, can be tapped to get the sugar. And it's a ratio of about 1:40 or 1:50 gallons of the sugar water that is then boiled down. We know it best as syrup, but a lot of these traditional and indigenous cultures would actually make maple sugar. And this was not only a preservative, but also a form of calories and sweetener throughout what would often be the fall, winter season. And you do the harvesting of this and creation of this typically in the spring, just as the temperatures begin to rise and the trees are coming back to life and the sap is beginning to flow inside.
That's great. Thank you so much, Alan. I guess this is it really shows us how much there is this long history, but what do you think these food histories can tell us about how we live today?
It's fascinating to think about how we arrived at the current agricultural system. Why did some crops get chosen to be planted? Acres of cornfields, for example. And so it kind of shows you the selective breeding processes. On one hand, you can separate the culture and the crop. On the other hand, they are one and the same, because humans are making decisions around, we have been selective breeding since the dawn of our agricultural revolution, choosing the biggest seeds, the tastiest seeds, the hardiest seeds to then plant the next time. So it represents a fascinating interplay between kind of the natural, and then, humans are natural, but then we believe that we are not sometimes. So these two forces coming together to basically shape the planet as we know it.
That's great. Thank you. So we are going to open it up to any questions here. And Molly, if you have any questions in the chat that you're able to share.
I do have a couple questions. Let's see. Very good, everyone. I learned a lot in this webinar, so thank you all. Let's see. Tina, you might be able to answer this because you spoke directly about a Century Farm, but can you all or any of you talk to us about what's involved in having one's farm registered as a Century Farm? Do we have any ideas what that might take?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Maybe we could just give that a Google then. I'm sure we could find that answer somewhere. Well, I personally have a question as I'm sort of sorting through these others. How has this project specifically changed your relationship with food? Has it at all changed the way you think about food, or sort of the hands it takes to grow it?
Who wants to answer that question? Tina?
We always hear about eating healthier and more nutritious, and I've always thought about it, but this has really made it first and foremost in my mind about not just, if I am unable, I live in an urban area, if I am unable to grow my own food or just, don't have time to buy from local farmers markets and people who do, because the nutritious people, like all along this project, people were giving me food and I would eat this food. And the difference, not just in the flavor, but the immediate feeling of nutrition in my body was astounding, like night and day. And so I really yes, that's definitely been a change about how I think about what I'm putting into my body, for sure.
Like a physical change too. And I think that's really exciting because you can like really feel the difference between, the store bought and the thing that came directly out of the earth. That's kind of cool and exciting. Awesome.
I'll add, if I can add just a couple things to that too. I think for me, sort of the biggest thing that I've sort of taken away is just like understanding that like it's okay to like slow down and change your pace a bit. I think that just for example, when I was with Jordan at Melrose Garden, like it was so nice to just there was a point where I was like helping pull some weeds out, and we found some peppers, and then we pulled some apples from trees, and like it was clean, you know what I mean? And so I think being able to sort of see and walk through that process, really like in a time, in an era where everything is just lightning fast, especially folks who live in cities and whatnot, you need things, you need food quickly. But there's like there's merit to actually taking time to slowly, cook your food, or slowly grab, or just spend like a day or an afternoon grabbing produce and like letting that be what you use for the week. And so I'd say, like, in addition to Tina's point about being healthier, I think just like letting go of like control of specific time constraints that you feel that you have in like your day-to-day life, and there's just appreciating slowing down a bit.
Sage advice indeed. For sure, just sort of all around. I think to both of your points, she mentioned in the video that when she gets something from the farmer's market, she like stops and sort of like appreciates it. And I completely agree with her. I feel like it's prettier, it's more aesthetic. I feel like oranges or lemons you buy at a stand in Florida look altogether prettier and better than oranges you might or lemons you might buy at Kroger. So I think there's something to be said in sort of every corner of food, that coming from the ground, straight from the ground, and working with your hands changes everything. This has been a super duper informative webinar. The Henry Ford and the disassembly line, that just and that changes culture, like it changed the way we live. Not only disassembling pork, but putting together cars. Who knew the two are so unusually linked? Really fascinating stuff. Thank you so much for bringing this spin to food. I think just thinking about your food in a more artistic way, in a more historical and culturally sensitive way, I think changes relationships with food. So thank you so much. It's food for thought, incidentally. So, well, thank you everyone for watching. I just want to remind our viewers, if you'd like to watch a recording of this webinar, you can do that on alumlc.org/MiamiOH. And you can also catch the faculty and alumni exhibition at RCCAM now through December 13th. Is that right, Jack?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, December 13th. Thank you all so much. Asa, Alan, Tina, Jack, we have appreciated having you here today. Love and honor to you all. Thank you for joining us, and happy Wednesday.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Take care.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.